Hi, welcome back. So, thankfully, we have a minor bug with our sound system. I say thankfully because it gives us an opportunity to really explore something quite important. So if you're on the Start menu here in Block Breaker and you click Start, listen to the music. Now, on my machine, it's incredibly quick and subtle, but a lot of users are reporting that there's a significant glitch in the sound when they click Start. And it's because a second music player is running very, very briefly. But the question is why? So let's start the story from the beginning. We're going to introduce script execution order, explain exactly when scripts get called, then debug, and you're going to explain the problem, and then we'll fix it. Cool, so let's look at Unity's manual entry for the execution order. So you've seen in your scripts so far things like start and awake. That's fine. The question is, when do they get called exactly, and what other methods do we have, and how does this relate between different scripts? So let's focus on the basics for the moment. We have an awake method which we haven't used yet, which gets called the moment the scene loads. Then after that, and only once for every script, you get the start method called, and then we go through some fixed update loops for the physics, and then the update loop gets called. And then, as you can see from this black circle, we keep coming round again and again, running the physics updates and the game logic updates. Okay, so the important thing to remember now is it goes awake, start, and then update, update, update. Okay, how does this work between scripts? Say we've got many scripts running. Well, within what order do things get called in? Very good question. So we've made you this diagram. Now remember where this diagram is in the course, because this is going to be really handy for you. So in our game, when we get to the second level, i.e. level 1, once we click start, we're in this situation. We have 3 script instances very, very briefly at the start. We have the music player that came from the start scene. We have the new music player in the next scene that's about to self-destruct but hasn't done yet. And then we have a level manager instance as well. So what actually happens is it cycles through like this. The awake method gets called for one of the things, let's say one of the music players, then the next script instance. Then all the starts get called in order, and then all the updates get called. Time is going down the page. Now this is really important to understand. The other thing that's really important to understand is that we don't know which instances of these scripts are going to get called in which order. There is something in Unity called the script execution order. You can control it under project settings, script execution order. But we can only control things by their class name. So even if we tried to use script execution order, it would be the wrong solution here, because whereas we could tell it to execute all of the level manager instances before the music player instances, for example, or the other way around, we could not say to it the order in which it needs to execute the music player instances. This would be the wrong approach to trying to solve this problem. So this is how the methods are getting called. So what I want you to do is let's put some debug statements into our code to try and work out what's going on. Go back to musicplayer.cs, and you can either say print, or I'm going to use debug.log in this instance because we are debugging. Debug.log is very, very similar in its nature to print. So what are we going to log? Well, I want to say that music player awake ID colon, I'm actually going to do awake with a capital, okay, and then I'm going to put a space, and then I'm going to say get instance ID. All right, and it's a method. Now you'll see why in a moment, but what I want to do is we're basically going to log to say, hey, I've woken up, and I'm going to give you a unique ID to say who I am. Let's put another debug statement in the start here as well, right at the start of the, start. Music player, start. So now what's going to happen is when you run the game, your different instances of the music player, namely the one on the start scene here, that we have told to persist and not be destroyed on load, and then the one that we've left on level 1, really just to be awkward, you will have 2 different instances of the music player in this scene when you get to it. So I've got a challenge for you. What I want you to do is I want you to run the game with that code in place, look at the console logs, and digest the information from the previous slide, this one showing you the order of execution. And then write a brief explanation of the bug. Just jot it down on a bit of paper. Only needs to be a sentence. But by writing it, you can be sure that you are thinking about it carefully. And also, when I explain what the cause of the bug is, then you can compare notes, literally, from what I say against what you wrote, and see if you agree with me. So, go ahead, pause the video, work out what is causing this minor music glitch, write it down, and I'll see you soon. Fantastic, welcome back. So, let's take a look at this running now then. Go over to Unity, go to the Start Scene, Start Menu Scene, click Play. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to look at the console. And we have a music player awake, and then a music player start, and then the ID of the music player. That's fine. So that's that single music player on the start scene that has been told not to persist. Great. So that's a good starting point. Now I'm going to clear the console before I carry on, because it's a bit clearer to see what's happening. So let's click Start. Okay, here we go. We're into the level now. The level gets loaded. The music player 9832 becomes awake. Then there's going to be a pause while any other scripts awake methods get called. Remember from the slide that all the awakes get called first. So the awake on the level manager will be being called. And also, depending on the order that your current game decides to run the two instances of the music player in, the other music player's awake may be being called as well. It's not in this case. So then after all those awakes have happened, then the start occurs on this music player instance, and then it self-destructs. So it's in this gap between lines 2 and 3 here, between these two, where you're getting the music playing twice before the self-destruct. So that's what's causing the problem. That's what's causing that annoying little tiny glitch that you're hearing. Okay, cool. So well done if you spotted that and you worked out how it works. Let's take a look at a very simple solution. The very simple solution is to take all the code in the if block and just put it into the awake, so that we actually make the decision whether we're going to self-destruct on awake rather than on start. So earlier. Okay, I've saved that code. Let's run again. Starting on the start scene. Here we go. Get the same sort of thing here, clear. Now when we play, we get awake, and then immediately, before the start even runs, we get the duplicate music player is self-destructing. We don't even get the message that the start method is run, because the object has been destroyed. Okay, so that's it, it's gone. And we're just left with one music player in the scene that's happily playing the music. So, well done. Hopefully you've understood that. As a recap, the script execution order goes like something like this. All the instances of music player may occur before level manager, or the instances of level manager may occur before music player. That script order is not determined unless you tell Unity explicitly. The awake methods all get called first, so it cycles through the awakes, and then it cycles through the starts. And the problem we had was that we were initializing on start, not awake, so there was a gap between the music playing in the duplicate on awake, and then you had to wait until the start method occurred before it actually self-destructed. And the solution was simply moving this code to awake. Fantastic. You can remove your debug lines if you want. I don't think they need to be there any longer. In fact, you could move the whole start method. There you go. Nice and clear. The if statement is inside awake, and your music player glitch should be gone forever. By the way, if you want some further reading, this whole usage of statics and instances like this, and then saying, does an instance of this thing already exist, is called a singleton pattern. Let me show you a couple of good resources. Firstly, unitypatterns.com about singletons is a good place to go, and it'll show you 3 different types. We're basically using the persistent singleton with slightly different logic. So that's one way to look up, one place to look up singletons. The other good resource here is there's a book called gameprogrammingpatterns.com, which is a great book. I've got it in hardback or softback, but if you scroll down to the web, you can read now, and then there's a section on singletons here. All right, and this will again tell you about the singleton pattern. So C# in Unity doesn't explicitly support singletons, but we create a singleton pattern by the way that we use our code. So congratulations, and hopefully that's all clearer for you, and I'll see you soon.